6 months. That's how long some companies now take to just send you a rejection email. The dreaded, after careful consideration, blah blah blah. In recent survey of Indian H-1B holders, 1 in 6 said they personally know someone who got a deportation notice after losing their job. Right now, 11 Fortune 500 companies are run by CEOs of Indian origin. Microsoft, Alphabet, and IBM alone are worth more than $6 trillion. So if Indians are good enough to run some of the biggest companies on the planet, why are Indian engineers left with scraps back home? We'll get to that in a bit. But first, we need to understand what's actually happening to these jobs right now. Remember the last time technology made jobs redundant? Factories, assembly lines, manual labor. Everyone assumed white-collar work was safe. This time it's the exact opposite. The desk job is first in line. The factory floor is weirdly safer than the office. And the scary part is how fast the whole thing is moving. A factory needed machines built, bolted to the floor, wired up, tested for months before anyone got replaced. Software has none of that. A company can switch on a new AI system across an entire department in one afternoon. And this is the exact math the AI companies are selling to the CFOs of the world. A worker on $75,000 a year salary costs the company roughly $50 an hour. A GPU doing comparable work rents for $2.50. That's 20:1 in AI's favor. And the jobs sitting on the wrong side of that math are exactly the ones engineering colleges have been training people for. Writing a first draft of code, explaining code that already exists, generating test cases, finding bugs. It's brutal for those trying to land their first jobs. In India, a graduate is more likely to be unemployed than someone who never went to school at all. In the US, computer science graduates now have nearly double the unemployment rate of philosophy majors. Now, some of you might be thinking, maybe this isn't really about AI at all. Maybe tech companies overhired like crazy during COVID, and AI efficiency is just the easiest excuse to fire people. That's actually a fair point, and we'll come back to that in a bit. But first, let's address the earlier question. 11 Indian origin CEOs running trillion-dollar companies, and yet Indian engineers are getting squeezed on both sides of the planet? Why? Timing. They didn't succeed by being better at the same job most engineers are stuck doing. They got out of it before it became this crowded. Most of these CEOs left India decades ago in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. That generation is still called India's brain drain. And they didn't leave chasing some grand American dream. They left because there was nowhere for them to go back home. Not enough high-skilled jobs, not enough companies willing to bet on them. The Indian tech dream was never about passion for technology in the first place. It was about escaping the Indian system. Even today, IIT produces 15,000 graduates a year. 7 out of every 10 of them leave the country. When an Indian origin leader becomes the CEO of Google or Microsoft, we feel proud. And we should, because it proves Indian talent can reach the very top. But Google didn't become an Indian company because its CEO is of Indian origin. It's still an American company and serves American interests. The same pattern just keeps repeating. India produces the talent, other countries capture the upside. And then we celebrate that talent as proof that India is winning. So how did we end up here in the first place? For 30 years, India produced millions of engineers for the rest of the world. Young people who could code, who spoke English, who worked long hours and did not complain, and who cost a fraction of what an American engineer costs. That became India's entire advantage. This model transformed cities like Bangalore. It created the first generation of Indian families where the child earned more than the parent by the age of 25. It was one of the best escape routes for Indian families because that's really what this was always about. Escape from the baggage of the Indian system. Patriotism doesn't pay rent. So the best engineer did exactly what any rational person would do in their place. They went wherever the value actually was. But the weakness was always hidden inside that success. India built the supply, but it never tried to work on the demand. And whoever controls the demand is the one who sets the price. That's how we fell into this trap. India produces over 1.5 million engineering graduates every single year. Think about what that actually does to a market. Flood any market with that much supply, and the price of whatever you're selling collapses. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows on the American side either. A fresh graduate with a master's from IIT joining Nvidia in Bangalore starts somewhere around 23 to 30 lakhs a year. A fresh graduate in San Francisco starts around 80 to $120,000 a year. But does that really mean the American engineer is better off? A dollar in America doesn't buy you what a dollar in India buys you. $1 in the US gets you roughly what 18 rupees gets you in India. Not the 90 rupees you see on a currency converter. 18. Run the American salary through that same math, and $100,000 turns into 18 lakhs of real local buying power. Less than what the Bangalore engineer makes. And that's before you even add the San Francisco rent, which makes the real number even worse. In terms of what the money can actually buy, the Indian engineer in Bangalore is in a better position than the American one. So if the math says Bangalore should feel like winning, why doesn't it feel that way? Because this was never really about who earns more. It was about who gets the upside. A salary, however good it looks on paper, pays your bills, but it doesn't change your life. Equity does. Stock that compounds for years inside a company you had to join early enough and stay. That's how an American engineer who joins the right startup at the right time can end up with millions before 40. An engineer in Bangalore almost never gets that deal. So that's problem one. An old problem, long before AI even entered the conversation. Here's problem two. AI is good at the exact work Indian engineering was built on. Specification driven work. Now back to that doubt we raised earlier. Is this really AI? Or is it companies hiding behind AI to justify cuts they probably wanted to make anyway? Maybe it's both. A CFO writing a layoff memo knows that AI efficiencies reads a lot better in the media than admitting we hired too aggressively in 2021. But does it really matter? The outcome is the same regardless. So why doesn't India have its own Microsoft? It's worth looking at China here. Because China answered this question completely differently. China used engineering to build systems at home. It copied where it had to, then it improved. Then it scaled across manufacturing, electronics, electric vehicles, robotics, payments, and whatnot. But India built an ecosystem of white-collar sweatshops. That's the difference. We clearly have the talent. Some people will tell you the difference is culture, risk aversion, parents pushing their kids towards safety rather than ambition. Some will tell you it's capital. Nobody in India wants to fund a bet that takes 10 years to pay off. Some will tell you it's the system, an education model built to produce people who are great at clearing exams, but not people who can think out of the box. Which one do you think it is? Let me know in the comments. The single most important AI research paper of the last decade, the one that modern AI is built on, had two of its lead researchers of Indian origin. They did the research at Google in California. We keep exporting the breakthrough and importing the byproduct. The same thing happened with UPI. India built UPI, a digital payment system. The infrastructure, the adoption, the entire behavioral shift that got an entire country paying for chai with a QR code. And yet, the companies positioned to make real money off all of it are not Indian. I made a video about exactly that. You can check it out next.